Welcome back, Bills of Red, to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today we have breaking news of new technology in the shopping industry. What I mean by this is using the Autocrafter instead of being like Etho.
We're not selling any glass. It's terrible. It's hopeless even.
And if the stained glass never gets sold, then well, that is a complete waste of time and resources. So instead, why not have your customers craft the glass or have a machine craft the glass as the customers want it? So that is exactly what I have here. You walk up to the barrel, you say, I want a stack of blue dye. You see that 8 dye is 1 stack, so I'll go ahead and get 8 dye here. I'll throw that into the barrel. Let's say I want a stack of purple stained glass too. I'll chuck that in, I'll put the blues back, and then I'll look here in the barrel to my left, and look, it is completely done. And then I can come back in here, and let's say I want 4 stacks of orange stained glass. Throw half a stack of orange in there, and the stained glass gets produced really quickly. Now, how we are doing this is we are using an Autocrafter that is already preset so that there is glass completely around the center slot. And then in that center slot, we have some sort of random item that we have just there as an item filter. So then anytime I have extra glass, the glass can only go in the slots around it. And then we lock the hoppers that is putting the glass into the actual Autocrafter. And then we take out this packed mud, and then we throw in whatever dye we are actually trying to craft. And that will allow white stained glass to be crafted. Then we'll put our filter item back in, and then we'll refill the Autocrafter with glass. The same thing can get done with powdered concrete. For example, if I come over here, let's say I want 4 stacks of pink. Let's say I want 2 stacks of cyan. If I come over here to this barrel, we can see those powdered concrete getting crafted really quickly. That is done by the same method. If you simply have a dye, but instead of having it in the middle slot, have it in the upper slot, then grab 4 sand down here and have 4 gravel down there, you have your powdered concrete. This is all done with a super compact system back here that is 7 wide, 7 tall, and 7 deep. So it is very compact, and it allows you to save so many resources, because the only resource you have to actually input in the system is regular glass, or with the powdered concrete example, you just have to import sand, and you have to import gravel. So both these systems work the exact same way, it's just how you configure your Autocrafter. And the system works like that, basically as fast as the Autocrafter can craft. The only limits of this system is basically, since the Autocrafter can only have 8 other full stacks of items, so in this case, if I look at the actual Autocrafter to this system, the Autocrafter has 8 full stacks of glass blocks. Now, if I use up all 8 stacks of those glass blocks, then this entire crafter is going to be reset. So what we have is this yellow circuit here that tells the system, hey, you are about to run out of glass blocks. It will pause the system, give the system time to reload all the glass blocks, and then the system will kick into high gear. So that is the reason why in the barrel right here, it says it pauses every 7.8 stacks. If you want to see what this means in real life, if I go ahead and go to the barrel, and let's say I want 16 stacks of stained glass. So that's going to make 16 stacks of black stained glass. And if I come to the back side and actually look in the Autocrafter, you can see the entire thing in action. So the black dye is being fed into the crafter, and the crafter is automatically crafting it very quickly. But once the glass gets down to just 2 left, the system is going to pause itself and put the item filter back in the middle and give this system a chance to restock itself. So right now, what the other dye that we put in the system is doing is it's just sitting in the dropper right over here. It's waiting to come in, but the system is paused until the Autocrafter has enough time to get fully restocked, and then the system will kick into high gear again and finish cranking out the rest of that black stained glass order. And I'll just do this a little bit of restocking and green proofing whenever the player is not at the store, so they're not having to wait at all. But the fact that it's able to craft all this very quickly, and it only takes about a minute to 2 minutes in order for the system to restock the Autocrafter, it really is not a bad wait for as compact and as cool as a system this is. Now, as for dimensions of the system is relatively small and is extremely compact. The system is only 7 by 7 by 7, 7 blocks long, 7 blocks wide, and 7 blocks tall, a perfect cube. And the first part of the cube is going to actually be part of your wall. You're going to have your barrel output, and then your hopper input, and the hopper input is directly in the middle of the 7 long, so it's going to go 3 on either side of the center hopper. It's going to go up 3 blocks counting that hopper. It's going to go down 4 blocks below that hopper. And then 2 blocks to the left is where we're going to have the output barrel. Now on the back side of this output barrel, I'm going to come back 2 temporary blocks, break the first. There, I'm going to have my Autocrafter facing directly into that barrel. Then I'm going to have a hopper going straight down into the Autocrafter, hopper going into the side, another hopper going straight down, and then this is our double chest of input. This is where you're going to have all your glass come into the system. Then we're going to need a hopper going into the side of the Autocrafter. Go ahead and grab a dropper. You want a dropper going into the side of that hopper. Then going straight down, we're going to come down 2 temporary blocks right beneath that center hopper. Break the first one, have a dropper facing directly up, then come over here to the right and have a hopper going into that dropper. Then we're going to come out to the side, have a temporary block, solid block. Go ahead and break your 2 temporary blocks you placed in earlier. Then go ahead and grab a redstone torch right there. Have a repeater here on 2 ticks. Then you need a solid block right there. Come down 1 block there. Have a bit of redstone dust. Come up 1 block right there. And have a repeater on 1 tick. Next, we're going to come from the back of our Autocrafter. Go ahead and put a block there, a block to the right, and a block above that. Then you're going to need an observer facing directly inward to the Autocrafter. Then come out a temporary block. Have another observer. Then come out 2 temporary blocks. Break the first one and have a sticky piston facing directly in. And break those 2 temporary blocks. Now this is what's going to be activating our Autocrafter anytime we need to actually craft stained glass. Now we then need to actually detect when there is dye in the system to activate the Autocrafter. So from this dropper, we'll come back 1 block, come down 1 block right there, have a comparator, go straight into a solid block. Above that, have a bit of redstone dust with a block right there, another block right there, and have a repeater here on 1 tick. Then you need 2 blocks here, another block there, and 3 bits of redstone dust. Then coming directly above this, you need to have a bit of redstone dust right there, have a block keeping those 2 things from connecting, another block there, then we're going to have a upper slab right here. The reason we're having an upper slab here is to give you easy access to this part of the system for bug testing. Then you need a repeater here on 3 ticks and 2 bits of redstone dust. Next, we're going to come 2 blocks out from this original bit of redstone dust, have a repeater here on 2 ticks, redstone dust. Then this redstone dust is going to come down next to the piston right there, come down 1 more block, and then we'll need a line of blocks right there, and you can break the temporary block. We're going to have a comparator facing out, a comparator facing in, and redstone dust in each of those empty spots, just like so. Then we're going to come underneath our observer here, come directly underneath it, have a block there, come up 1 block, break that temporary block, have 2 bits of redstone dust right there, then come out another 2 blocks, and we're going to have 2 repeaters here, both of these on 4 ticks. Coming around to the other side, we're going to come from this bit of redstone dust here, come down 1 block, we're going to come over 1 block, in 1 block, have 3 bits of redstone dust right like so, have a solid block right there, and then have a redstone torch on the inside of that block, and you're going to need a solid block right on top of that redstone torch. Then we're going to come back to our observer circuit. This is going to be our detection for whenever we are running low on glass. And that's only going to happen basically when this hopper right here is completely empty of glass. So from this observer, we are going to have a comparator. We're going to have 2 blocks right here on either side of that comparator. 2 bits of redstone dust, a block to keep the redstone dust from connecting, a redstone torch, and then you're going to come straight down. And next to this comparator, you need a block with a bit of redstone dust. Now this redstone dust should be activated right now, but once we put in some glass into the system, this redstone torch should get turned off, turning off that bit of redstone dust. Now this is all our logical redstone circuit done. What's left to put in is the redstone circuit that's going to make sure that the system doesn't break itself, to make sure we don't accidentally break our perfectly calibrated Autocrafter. Now we are going to start over here from our decay clock. Go ahead and have a target block and come from the left redstone dust right there. We'll come up with a redstone torch, up 1 more block, have another redstone torch, block to the left like so, have a repeater on 4 ticks, then put a block next to that repeater like so, and then you need 2 hoppers facing directly in each other like this, with 2 bits of redstone dust on top. Now this is the start of our etho hopper clock, so we are going to come down here to the side, come down 2 blocks and over 1. You can break these first 2. Have a piston facing inward, redstone block there. Have a comparator and redstone dust right like so. Then coming on the other side, you need a piston facing on the inside. You can put this next to the redstone torch like this. Should be fully extended. Then you need a comparator on top of the piston. Then you need a block next to that comparator. And then you need to come down a temporary block, down 1 more block, and then put a piece of redstone dust right here. The reason we are doing this side slightly different is because we want to take a redstone output from that redstone dust. So you're going to need a repeater here that's going to go straight into a solid block. Then we are also going to come from our original redstone circuit right here. We're going to come down 1 block like this with another piece of redstone dust. Then go ahead and grab a dropper. You're going to need a dropper facing inward like so. Have a hopper going into that dropper. And in the dropper, go ahead and put 60 random stackable items you don't care about. Then go ahead and put a solid block right there. Then we're going to come down 1 block like so. Have another block here. And you need 2 comparators like so. One should be on, which is detecting the 60 items we put in that dropper. And one should be off, and that should be detecting the 0 items in the item hopper. From the comparator that's on, we are going to have a block coming out to the side, redstone dust on top, a block on the inside, and then a redstone torch right there with another block and redstone dust right like so. You then need to grab a button of some sort and have that on this block here, redirecting that piece of redstone dust. So it's going into the comparator, but also to this button and not to that block. Then coming from the other comparator, we're going to have a block right there, redstone torch coming down 2 blocks to a bit of redstone dust. That's going to come directly into a block right here. Repeater on 2 ticks, redstone torch right there. It's going to go straight into a solid block right there. Then you're going to have a block here with some redstone dust on it. Another redstone torch. Have a repeater here on 2 ticks. That's going to go directly into a solid block. To the side, have a piece of redstone dust. Then off the side of the redstone dust, have a block right there. Go ahead and break that temporary block. Have a redstone torch there. That redstone torch is going to be going right into a repeater right here on 1 tick. That repeater on 1 tick is going straight into a solid block. And then coming around to the other side of that solid block, this is the block that we just placed there. Go ahead and put a redstone torch. And that's going to go directly up and into this piece of redstone dust right there. Now there's a couple things we have left to finalize. If we come to our etho hopper clock, we do need to put items in the left hopper. Go ahead and put a stack and 33 of some random junk item you don't care about. Then coming to our Autocrafter, in the very center slot you need to put some item like a stick. Then you need to grab glass and put that all the way around it. You can speed up the process by just going ahead and throwing in 8 stacks of glass like so. Then if we come directly underneath the Autocrafter, and this hopper underneath it, you're going to need 7 sticks. Go ahead and throw 4 of them in there and 3 of them in the first slot. Now, if you're going to use sticks here, make sure that there is a stick in the center part of the Autocrafter. If you want to rename some random item and put it in there instead of a stick, that is fine. But because you're only ever throwing dies into the system, as long as that center item is not a die, then you are perfectly fine using it. So once you have done that, what's left to do is come up here in this large chest and throw in your glass. Now the system won't actually operate until this hopper here has enough glass in it, and you know that there's enough glass in there because the redstone torch will have turned off like so. The last and final test I would strongly encourage you to do before actually closing up the system, building a nice shop for it, is go ahead and make sure that the Autocrafter is fully stocked with the glass. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and throw in 2 stacks and 32. Now what this system should do is allow the Autocrafter to craft as many blue stained glass as it can until it gets down to 1 or 2 glass blocks, and then it should stop. So we can see that the Autocrafter got down to 2 glass all around, so that's a pretty good number. If you have less than 2 glass, for example, if it runs completely out and there starts to be dye up here, or there's just no glass there in general, then what you want to do is come down here to this hopper, and where we have 60 sticks, go ahead and narrow it down to 59 or 58. Just close it down by just a couple sticks and then double check the system one more time. And that should make sure that there is always glass there. You might need to do that if you're on a realm or something that runs a bit slower and is not quite as fast as the single player Redstone testing world. Now the other thing we do want to check here is to make sure that the system restocks completely before letting more dye come into the system. And then in a couple seconds we should see the dye comes in. If it's taking a really long time or not all the stacks got fully filled up before the dye came in, what you would want to do is modify this Etho hopper clock. In the Etho hopper clock, I have a stack and 33 sticks. If you need it to take longer, increase the number of sticks. If you want to take shorter, decrease the number of sticks. But whatever you do, make sure to do it very slowly and a very few number of sticks. So it should always have 64 and 30 sticks in, but you can probably play around with those 3, add more, remove more. But I found this to be a very consistent number that gives the perfect amount of delay. Once you have done that endurance test that I just talked about, you are good to go with the system. The one other thing you can do is add a couple cool decorations. For example, you can add some redstone lamps from that redstone dust, so this lamp will always be on whenever the system is operating. And it's also cool to go ahead and put a barrel or something right up here that has all the dyes you possibly would want, and maybe even a little key that says 8 dye is 64 stained glass. That way if someone comes up here, they know, okay, if I queue 8 of this yellow dye, that's going to give me a stack of yellow stained glass. Now, a note to think about: when you are letting the system fully restock, you won't be able to see if the timings are perfect unless you have enough glass stockpiled in this chest up above. So make sure you have more around 27 stacks of glass if you're going to do as big of a test as I'm showing here. Now, if there's anyone out there that wants to use this system for powdered concrete, I'll show you real quick on how to do that modification. Now, the system is going to be basically the exact same. What you're going to do is in the actual Autocrafter, instead of having glass, go ahead and remove all of this. And how you actually craft powdered concrete is you have the dye in the first slot, then you have 4 stacks of sand and 4 stacks of gravel, and that creates your concrete powder. So go ahead and remove that dye and have your stick in the first slot, 4 slots of sand, 4 slots of gravel. Then what I would do is I would break up this chest into 2. So you're going to want to have 1 chest there and 1 chest there. Then whenever you're putting items into the system, just have 1 dedicated to be your sand chest, just like so, and have the other chest dedicated to be your gravel chest. The only thing you do want to keep in mind is you want whatever chest is right here. So whatever this upper chest is going to be the most understocked chest. What I mean by that is make sure you don't put in 2 stacks of gravel for every 3 stacks of sand, because then the gravel is going to run out before the sand does. By doing this, you basically make sure that there is always going to be gravel and always sand coming into the Autocrafter. And so now if you come over to the barrel and chuck in a bunch of these different dyes, then instead of getting stained glass, you of course are going to get a bunch of those different colors concretes. But that is really all there is to this system. If you guys have any other questions or comments, of course let me know down in the comment section below. But this has been Rocket Builder, and I'll see you all in the next video.